What is valuation coverage? So valuation coverage is not insurance. Let's just start there. It is the moving company's stated liability for your belongings while they have them, which means while they're in storage, while they're on their truck, while they have them. So it's basically like that, oops, my bad, I totally broke that moment. That's basically what it is, except it's like pretty weak unless you upgrade it.
Mariette's on the move. What? Mariette's on the move. Again? Mariette's on the move.
Not anymore. I'm Mariette of Mariette's on the Move, and I'm finally setting roots back in sweet home Chicago. But if you're thinking about moving, I'm on it. I've moved 20 times in the last 24 years to 6 of America's top cities, and boy, do I have some stories for you. I'll be doing some on-air coaching and, of course, giving you my tips, tricks, and scams to avoid. This is the Moving Tips and Tricks podcast. Now let's get moving.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. I have a very sexy topic for you. It is valuation coverage versus insurance. And I got to tell you, this is like my 16th time recording it. Like legitimately, I think my 7th. The first couple times I recorded it wasn't great. I finally got it really good and the mic was muted. That was a fun one. I literally had to get up and walk away because I was like, this is crazy. And then I did it one more time and I tested the mic out and it was awful. I don't know if I was like too close to the mic or, I used the same mic that I was using when I was in Charlotte, North Carolina, but for some reason it is just not working for me here in the new house. So I promise you, I will find an alternate. I actually am going to a studio tomorrow, an actual production studio. D. Hudson Productions up in Elgin, Illinois is going to be helping me with my intro and my outro. Good friend of mine from college. Awesome guy. If you need to produce anything, he's actually amazing. I might actually have to have him produce my podcast for a while. But today, I want you to picture this. I want you to picture that you just moved into your new house. You're excited. You're exhausted and slightly delirious from surviving basically the most chaotic game of Tetris you've ever played with your furniture. And you rip open a box labeled fragile and like your favorite mic, oh my gosh, I can't even talk. Your favorite mug is broken into a million pieces. And it's basically the one that got you through every Monday morning for the last couple of years. It's basically now in more pieces than your sanity from dealing with your movers. And at that moment, you think, well, you know what? No big deal. I'll just file a claim for my wonderful sentimental mug. Did you actually get insurance? Or did you just assume the moving company would cover something if it broke? That's what we're going to talk about today. And a spoiler alert. Depending on which one you get, if you have a 100-pound TV that falls off the back of a truck, it's going to bank you about $60 because that's 60 cents a pound. They don't go by how much you actually are paying for whatever it is you are paying to replace it. So we're going to talk into a lot of that stuff because a lot of movers have free coverage, which is great, but it's not going to basically get you a family of 4, any type of Starbucks drinks. And diving into that world of valuation coverage versus moving insurance, it's one of them's going to protect your stuff and the other one's going to make you cry into that broken mug I just talked about. So we're going to break down the differences, how to actually get your money's worth, where to find insurance that won't leave you staring at a shattered TV, and, talk about all cool things like insurance and coverage because moving is stressful enough without any type of financial heartbreak added to it, and this is a big one. So let's go through this. And I do have some notes, so if you hear some papers rustling around, this is one that I don't talk about every day, so I want to make sure I get it right for you. But what is valuation coverage? So valuation coverage is not insurance. Let's just start there. It is the moving company's stated liability for your belongings while they have them, which means while they're in storage, while they're on their truck, while they have them. So it's basically like that, oops, my bad, I totally broke that moment. That's basically what it is, except it's like pretty weak unless you upgrade it. So there are 2 main types of valuation coverage. One is released value protection, RVP. And it's basically, in my opinion, the free but useless option. So this is like the default coverage that moving companies offer. It costs nothing for you. It's kind of included, but it only pays you out 60 cents per pound per item. So if something breaks or goes missing, which often does happen if you're doing long distance moves, because you're never really just the only person on a truck. If you have 3-bedroom house that's, maybe 1,600 to 2,000 square foot, you're always going to be sharing a load or a semi with somebody else, unless you are fortunate enough to have a 26-foot moving truck with just your stuff on it. You are likely going to be sharing a load if you're crossing many, many, many states, which is called an interstate move. So I always remember those, like I have to take the interstate to get to Indiana from Illinois, right? That's interstate. If it's intrastate, remember back in the it was like early 2000s, we called it the intranet when you worked in a corporate office and you had to go to basically what's now SharePoint. That was called the intranet. So think of that as your interstate, right? So in the state that you live in, move, or interstate, which is leaving your state, going over state lines. So released value protection. Yes, like I said, the free but useless option. Then there's full value protection. I would say it's the better but not free option. So you're going to pay extra for this coverage. It's better than nothing. And the moving company is responsible for repairing, replacing, or reimbursing you for the lost or damaged items. If you're only going to do a valuation protection, that's the one you want to do. So like I mentioned, you could be sharing a load with another couple families, right? Sometimes it's 2 families, sometimes it's just you and another family. But essentially, they will have to oftentimes take your stuff off the truck and hold it somewhere, because I think they have like 6 weeks to get your stuff to you. Even if they tell you it's coming in 3 days, like they legally have like 6 weeks to hold your stuff. So keep that in mind when you're packing and putting things in your car. You never, ever, ever, ever want to put something super valuable in a truck, right? So you always want to keep that stuff like grandma's jewelry, your Nike Air Jordan collection. You want to put that stuff that you know is worth something in the car with you. Now, one of the things I do when I'm moving, and like I said, I'm going to take a break on the moving. I don't think I'm going to do it for a long time, but one of the things that I do both when I get to my new house, when I'm leaving, right before I pack up a house, is I go around to every single room and take pictures of everything. So I open the closet doors, I take pictures. I open cabinet doors, I take pictures. I take pictures of what's on the wall. I go into my file cabinets, I take pictures. I do a video of every room, everything. I open linen closets, the garage, like you just take a slow-mo video, because here's why. You probably don't have the receipt for something you bought 5 years ago. It's probably still worth something, maybe, right? But if it's missing and you have full value protection, you have to prove that you had it. You can't just say like, oh, I had this $10,000 Nike Air Jordan collection. They want to see it in the box, right? So the fine print sometimes doesn't cover everything, right? Or there's usually like limits or deductibles that full value protection offers. But you really want to make sure that you have some proof that you had that item. And the way to do it is through pictures if you don't have the receipt. And if the truck falls over and you have all of your file cabinet stuff, like I said, don't put anything with your important documents like your birth certificate, anything with your social security on, like your taxes or anything. Do not put that on a truck, because multiple hands could be touching these. And I will tell you, I work with some of the best movers in the industry, and they are ethical guys. Some of them are not, right? So there's an episode that I did with the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration's division chief. And she was amazing. And she talked all about the moving crime rings. That is an actual thing where people will steal things off the trucks. In most cases, if you do what I tell you to do, which we'll get into an episode about how to pick a mover and how to vet them out, make sure they're not scam artists. Even with some of the good guys, things happen, right? They get on a truck, they pile. It's like the best game of Tetris. If you're a Tetris fan like me, like it's amazing. Pack everything on the truck to the ceiling of the semi, and like if they are moving your stuff out and they accidentally grab something from the other wall, they may not have a partition that says this is family A, this is family B. They just had it all up against each other. And you don't happen to see that, for instance, like what happened to me, Frank and his crew, probably the worst mover I ever worked with. I don't know that I'll ever go into that story. I mean, I even have a video of him screaming at me that my brother felt so compelled to video because it was, he was crazy. But the glass top that you put over my long dresser was on there. And my long dresser is something from like it's like a mid-century modern dresser that like has been in my stepmom's family for a generation because it was a friend of a friend that, long story short, I have to get it custom made now. And someone at some point in time, because it was in my guest bedroom, put a glass of water on the dresser and it left a huge ring. So now I have to get the whole thing refinished, which I should probably do anyway, because it's, it's in desperate need of a makeover. But point of my story is even if they have the best intentions, things could go missing. And if they drop your stuff off in Charlotte, North Carolina, and they're on their way to Florida, they are not going to turn around and try and dig through their load to find my glass top that I desperately wish I had now. And I still haven't gotten a new one made. So anyway, I know I promised shorter episodes this season, so we're going to get back into it. So released value protection is the free but useless option. That's the one that can see that 60 cents per pound per item. The full value protection is the better but not free option that you pay extra for the coverage. And the moving company is responsible for repairing, replacing, or reimbursing you for that lost or damaged item if you can prove that you have it. So now you're probably thinking like, wait, that's not enough protection for me and my stuff. Yeah, you're probably right. If you have like a fancy espresso machine or a collection of vintage vinyls, that's probably not going to be enough. So that's why you might need actual moving insurance. So the second part of the segment is literally talking about a separate policy that you can purchase from an actual insurance company dedicated to moving insurance. And it actually covers your stuff. So unlike valuation coverage, which is just like the mover's liability, the insurance company actually pays you back on your actual losses. So this is a real life thing. A lot of people don't really know about it. It's not based on some random per pound formula, which I love, but you can buy it through third-party moving providers, third-party insurance providers. And some of the options, I would say some of the better options out there, I will tell you, I have no affiliation with any of these companies unless they want to sponsor me. I would love for them to reach out and sponsor me because I do talk about them. Baker International is one of them. They do great domestic and international moves. They offer replacements at cost for the coverage. There's movinginsurance.com, which covers household goods, electronics, and high valued items. So keep that in mind when I said electronics, because sometimes these insurance companies in the fine print or in the policy details will say that it excludes electronics or fragile items or anything you yourself pack, right? So keep that in mind. You have to ask a lot of questions. This is not like the travel insurance that you get when you're booking your flight because, what if you get COVID again? Even though it's been 3 years, we still, for whatever reason, think about that. You want to check the policy details on this because this is everything you own. So keep that in mind. Okay, so I talked about Baker International, movinginsurance.com, Relocation Insurance Group, RIG. So they actually are unique because they insure specialty items. So like pianos, artwork, jewelry, all that stuff. Like obviously you're not going to put a piano in your car, but I would again strongly suggest if it's worth a lot of money in jewelry, whatever, you want to put that in the car with you where you have eyes on it. And if you go into a hotel for the night, if you're driving long distance, make sure you bring that stuff with you. Grab a cart, bring it in there with you. You just want to make sure you have that because I've even heard of not even scams. I've heard of people who have U-Hauls sitting in a parking lot at a hotel and someone actually just takes it off the hitch because they're super light, even with the stuff in it, and they put it on their own truck and they drive away with it. I've heard people just lifting the things. I mean, you don't know who's staying at the hotel who has that U-Haul. They break the lock, they go in, they lift it up, they take everything and put it in their cars. You never know any difference. You're not going to question it, right? Because it could be their U-Haul. There's a lot of different things that happen. You need to protect your stuff. So this next one is e-move insurance. So that's like the little e, the capital M, OVE insurance, which is what you want to get for something like U-Haul or pods, like moving containers. A moving container can literally fall off a truck that it's strapped on, you guys. If you're moving in the winter like I did, I got very lucky because it was like 50 degrees out the week in Chicago in December that I moved, which is unheard of. But like the next week, it more than made up for it because it snowed. But you really want to look at these insurance companies. So what I did for my move, I did a hybrid. So I had movers. I had a 26-foot moving truck, but because I just have a ton of bigger furniture because I came from a bigger house than what I live in right now. I had a grill table I have a green egg, which I'm very excited to use this summer and start smoking stuff. I have a lot of patio furniture, which just takes up a lot of room. I have those like swinging egg chairs that before Pier 1 went out of business, I bought 2 of them. I drove to all ends of the earth to get matching ones, like 2 different Pier 1s. They're awesome. You'll probably see pictures of me. And in fact, on my website, there's a picture of me sitting in it with my Savvy shirt on my favorites page. So you can see what it looks like. But the last but not least, moving insurance that you want to look into is your own, right? So if you owned a house, your homeowner's insurance, or if you rented an apartment or a house, some of those policies cover moves. So your renter's insurance and your homeowner's insurance could potentially cover your stuff on your move. So you might need extra coverage. I think they call it like an umbrella policy or something that covers a certain time frame that you just pay for, like knowing that it's going to be on a truck somewhere. But the big point that I'm trying to make here is that you want to cover your stuff with more than the valuation protection coverage that you're going to get from a mover. Because again, this is everything you own and you might not think it's worth anything, but if you have to replace everything and you have zero coverage, you become a minimalist real quick. And that's not fun for anyone, right? So it is worth it to look into that. Now, a couple tips before you do either of these, right? And I would compare and contrast. A lot of people spend more time planning their vacations than they do finding a mover and planning the actual move itself. Read the fine print. You don't want to assume that your moving company's coverage is the same. Your sales rep that comes to the house and does the walkthrough and looks to see how much, poundage they think you have may call it insurance, but it's not insurance. It's valuation coverage. That's different. That's why I'm doing this whole show. Like I said before, take pictures of everything. This is going to make a claim much, much easier. Know your policy's claim deadline. I know this is kind of weird, but sometimes it takes a long time to unpack a house. Like you get everything in, you get your necessities out, and then you're like, oh, I'll get to the stuff in the garage. And you don't realize that like all of your hoses, which don't cost that much, but it's annoying to have to rebuy when you had a whole couple boxes of them or something. Everything goes in a box. That's another one of the shows that we're going to do this season because it doesn't matter if it's going on a truck. It's got to go in a box. But that's the thing is you want to know if you're going to not unpack everything you own right away, you got to know what the deadline is. And sometimes it's as little as like 9 months to file a claim, or you can't exceed 12 months or something. So you want to find that. And then also consider if you have a deductible. Make sure it makes sense. Like if you have a $500 deductible and you're trying to file a claim on, Aunt Edna's $60 vase that you broke or they broke, it might not be worth your insurance going up. But if it's TV and it was worth $3,000 and you just bought it at Best Buy like 2 years ago, that would be worth it, right? So you want to make sure your deductible is, you may have to pay for it. It's just like a car. And then this is a tricky one. I would ask the movers about their track record. Now, one of the things I will say is that, they may not be honest with you. That's for sure. A lot of people think that they can feel somebody out. And that's sometimes if they hesitate, I don't know, just feel it out a little bit. But what I will say is that if you go to protectyourmove.gov, which is the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration's website, I talked about the FMCSA earlier, they have where you can check your movers. And this is where I would recommend you actually find your movers on Google. Do not go through a broker. I know they're going to kill me for this, but it shoots your information out into the ether and you get a million phone calls and you're on a list forever. And half of them are scams. That's what the FMCSA talks about. Man, my bangs are killing me. They're driving me nuts. Sorry, they're too long. I need to get them cut. Anyway, if you're on YouTube, you could just see that I'm trying to play with them and get them out of my face because they're falling into my eyes. Oh, man. Anyway, You want to go to the FMCSA's website, protectyourmove.gov, and you want to go into searching for a mover, and you want to see if they have any filed claims against them, which is how you can find out if they're a good mover or a bad mover. If they have had nothing against them in a year, that means that they have not been investigated by the FMCSA, which is a really good thing for you. It's just one more thing to protect you. But true peace of mind is going to be getting third-party moving insurance. I would say not relying on the released value protection. Again, that's the 60 cents per pound one, or the full value protection, which costs you a little bit, but it's basically going to reimburse you for a meal on your move. So that's kind of it. Let me see, make sure I didn't miss anything on my little list here. I don't know. I guess before your next move, you guys, I would just check those third-party providers like Baker International or movinginsurance.com. Even if you see your homeowners or renters insurance can step it up to the plate, try that. For the love of all things bubble wrap, do not put valuables on a truck. Like I said, you want to put it in your car. You want to take pictures of everything that's going on that truck. That picture could very literally be worth $1,000 and give you the proof that you need to file a claim. But that's it for today's episode of Moving Tips and Tricks, 20-ish, 22-ish minutes, which I'm pretty happy about. If you found this episode helpful, obviously subscribe to the website. I don't want to give you a ton of call to actions because I hate when people are like, do this and do this and do this. But really, you guys, my goal is to get to 10,000 downloads a month because I know that 25 million people move a year. And this information is so incredibly valuable that the more you can share it with somebody you know, the more helpful it is for me because I can get sponsors and things like that to help you with free content and step up the vocals and get a better studio and all that stuff. So, I do have a call to action. Sorry about that. So I actually just redesigned everything. So my podcast, obviously the name of the podcast changed from Mariette's on the Move to Moving Tips and Tricks. I mean, I'm still like, if you're moving, I'm on it, right? That's where Mariette's on the Move came from. But decidingtomove.com is my website. I just changed the URL. And on there, if you actually want to get coached, like if you have a unique situation or you're just not sure where to go or how to figure that stuff out, there's a form right when you hit my homepage that says free podcast coaching episode or something like that. Free submit for a podcast coaching episode. I probably should have looked at that before I said this, but it basically gives you a form to fill out and I will see that and we can jump on air and we can talk through a session. So you'll get to hear how I would coach you if this was a real life coaching session and how to help you figure out all the things. So until next time, happy moving and may your boxes always arrive in one piece. Have a great night.
That's a wrap on today's tips and tricks. Jump on decidingtomove.com to apply for a free on-air coaching session or join the newsletter to get your copy of the Moving for Smarties workbook. Oh, and the legal stuff. This podcast is presented solely for educational and entertainment purposes. I'm a certified coach, not a licensed therapist, and this is not meant to replace the professional advice of a physician, psychotherapist, or real estate agent. I do not own a moving company or work for the governing agencies transporting home goods, which means Mariette's on the Move LLC is not responsible for anything that happens during your move. This is solely my perspective based on my research and my own experience and training. So, move at your own risk. Bye for now.